everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. Today on the podcast, I chat with Heather Wilson, who started a platform with some of her siblings called GiveSendGo. I debated on whether or not I should call this a ministry or people helping people because really it's both. This is a crowdfunding platform, but it is very unique in that there is so much prayer and faith involved in the way this business is run that it makes it set apart from the other platforms that you learn about and you know about. This is a great way when you need to raise money or someone needs to raise money. There's so many benefits to using this platform, and she talks about all of them here. I know the next time I hear of somebody that's wanting to do this, that's exactly where I'm going to point them because they are all about the people and praying for the people and encouraging the people that are setting up campaigns to raise money. This is a great program, and I loved getting to learn about it today. Thanks for being here. Well, I was excited to read about Give, Send, Go because we hear a lot in everywhere, on social media, especially about all the different crowdfunding ways to raise money for people for different things. But your Give, Send, Go is very unique. Yeah, y'all have a lot of different reasons why you started and what you're doing. Can you tell me about why you started this program?
Yeah, so GiveSendGo was started about 10 years ago. Actually, this year will be our 10-year anniversary. Um,
Wow.
I am one of 12 siblings,
Oh my
and
goodness.
so big family. Grew up in southern New Hampshire, 6 boys and 6 girls. Same mom and dad, no twins. Those are all the questions people ask. Um, and the idea of crowdfunding was talked around the kitchen table one day. GoFundMe had become like a thing on the rise of social media, and it was like, this is a really cool idea. And coming from a Christian family, we were like, this actually is kind of probably like a modern day Acts
Right.
situation where the church, or when there's a need, everybody comes together, does a
Yeah.
little, and fixes things. And so I remember actually the first time I gave to a campaign on GoFundMe, a friend of mine, her car broke down, and she put something out there, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I gave 25 bucks, and she got her car fixed, not just because of my 25 bucks, because a crowd came
Right.
together and it made it possible that everybody could do a little. And we thought, this is such a cool idea. I wonder if
Yeah.
there's any religious or Christian
Right.
based platforms out there. And there wasn't anything thriving. So we said, me and two of my siblings said, okay, let's do this. We didn't have degrees, we didn't have the skill sets, but that's a lot of times when God leads you on an adventure. He's just
Right.
asking you to say yes. And so we said yes and had started on this journey to say, we're not going to just allow people to raise funds, which is important. There's lots of
Right.
tragedy that need money in
Sure.
situations, but that we would share the hope of Jesus while people were fundraising for those things.
Like, did you see long term what this could do, or was it just something because you thought it was a great idea? Like, what kind of impact did you hope that it would have?
I get asked this question a lot, and I do say, uh, well, when you start a business, you're always hoping for the big,
Right.
right? You're not thinking, oh, this not going to work, or you wouldn't do it. And so you
Yeah.
have these big dreams, like, oh, this is going to be like huge, and you're going to start this platform, and everybody's going to want to use it, and it's going to be such an easy sell, and I have the best
Right.
idea in the world. And many entrepreneurs know that feeling of like, oh, I'll build it and they will come. And
Right.
it was a eye-opening reality when we built it. And then we were begging people to come, please
Right.
start a campaign, use us. We're better in this way. Try us. And we weren't,
Right.
when you start something, we weren't as good as our competitors at the time. We were just figuring things out.
Right.
Um, and so our dream, our hope was that we would be a global leader in online crowdfunding. Did we actually see that in those first few years? Absolutely not. It was
Right.
day after day, long hours, and our spouses, my brother and I, our spouses being like, so how long are you going to be doing
Yeah.
this for? Like, are you ever going to get a paycheck? Like, will this ever, support our family at all? And
Right.
we were blessed with spouses that supported us in this endeavor.
Yeah.
So yes, we had the dream, but the first, I would say, 5 years, it was just the grind.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
So tell me how GiveSendGo is different than other platforms we may be familiar with.
Yeah, so Give, Send, Go, again, I shared my mission statement. You don't find many mission statements of big tech platforms being to share the hope of Jesus.
Right.
But so that is what sets us apart, if
Yeah.
nothing else. And you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be faith-based at all to use us. We have atheists that use us because of our principles on freedom and standing for freedom and
Right.
things like that. But when we make decisions at Give, Send, Go, as we navigate through some of these like weird, controversial things that happen in culture, uh, we go, okay, let's not just make a gut reaction based on
Right.
the loud noise of social media. Let's actually bring it back to our core values, which our mission statement, which is to share the hope of Jesus. So how do we do that in situations that become hard? And so that
Yeah.
makes us different. We don't just shut down campaigns because we don't like them. We say, how do we reach this person and share hope? This person needs hope. And
Great.
so another big thing is that we're less expensive than the other guys.
Yeah.
Our payment processing fee is less. We've negotiated that down. When you're fundraising, every penny matters. Anybody who's had to
Right.
fundraise. So we thought, let's take this negotiation as we grew and we're able to, negotiate with our payment processor. Let's actually pass on some of those savings to the customer so that they could save more, keep more of the money they raised. And we, as a platform, don't take a platform fee. When we first started, that wasn't the norm. The norm was you charge
Yeah.
5 to 10% for people to use your platform. And then there's about a 3% platform
Wow.
fee. I mean, payment processor fee.
Yeah.
We decided early on, we first came out with a platform fee, a little cheaper than our competitors, because we thought, well, this will be a selling point. And then very early on, within the first couple months, we said, you know what, we're going to change this. We're going to operate for free. We're not going to take money from the people who are trying to raise money. They need it.
Right.
So, what if we were to just operate on a generosity model where people giving, the people with the money, if they wanted to, they could donate to us to help keep us free. So instead of taking
Oh,
it out of
wow.
their donation to the campaign,
Yeah.
they could do an additional dollar, $2, $3 to Give, Send, Go to help keep us free. And what we have found is that it has been a successful model, so much so that some of the other platforms now have
Oh,
adopted
wow.
that tip model as well.
That's so great. I love that because I know part of the complaints I've heard about other ones are the fees that go along with and the people that are missing out on some of the money because it's, going to that platform. So that's incredible.
Yeah, we thought,
So,
when someone's raising money because their daughter has cancer,
right.
like, let's get them the most money that they can
Yeah,
have. Like, let's not scoop some money out of that. Let's
sure.
let the money go there. So yeah,
I
it
love
actually
that.
has worked to our benefit too.
I love that. In all the people that I've talked to, because I've talked to people, I've probably interviewed over 100 people all over the world who are doing fabulous things like what you're doing. And I've learned something new every time I've talked to somebody. What are some things that you have learned going through this work? And especially in 10 years, I'm sure there's a lot.
Yes. You know, it's interesting. It's like countless stories
Yeah.
and things that God has led us through, learning to trust. I have been a Christian since I was little, and so I've had a faith background. I grew up in a faith-filled family. I would say I love Jesus and things like that. And I went through a season in my life personally where I had a surprise baby, had this big gap in my kids. So I had four older
Mhm.
kids and then a 10-year gap, and found out I was pregnant at 40.
Wow.
And uh, then we adopted a child to fill the gap. But before we adopted, we did foster care, and God sent five kids to fill the gap, which I have a book that I'm actually launching on
Oh,
Monday about
wow.
that, about my foster care journey. And
Yeah.
so it starts like with stories like that, where you say yes to God. I said yes to foster care. God put me in way over my head. I said yes to Give, Send, Go. God put me way over my
Yes.
head. And so I would say the theme of my life is that when you first say yes to God, but then it's not going to just be easy because it's what he wants. He's
Right.
going to teach you so much through it.
Oh,
His
yeah.
the goal of this life is not just to live a happy, comfortable life, it's to become more like him. And that only happens through the hard. And so some of the things I learned is just how faithful God is,
Yeah.
that he's faithful today. I would always know that he was faithful yesterday. I could look back and
Right.
see. But
Right.
when things are going on that's really hard today, and I don't know how it's all going to wrap up in a nice little bow, can I say, God, you're faithful today in the middle
Yeah.
of this? And so I'm learning that. And it's not an easy place to be because you have to go through storms to be able to say he's faithful
Right.
during it, right?
Right.
Um, but learning that he's faithful today. And then another big one in dealing with some of my children that we're going through some pretty bad middle school and high school years of
Yeah.
like just I didn't know what
No
if either
fun.
one of us would survive.
Yeah.
And they're turning away from the Lord and just I didn't have control that I so desperately need as a mother.
Yes.
And I had a really cool encounter with the Lord one day just around asking for wisdom.
Yeah.
And I had read James in the morning in my devotional, and it says, if any of you lack wisdom, ask me and I'll
Right.
generously give you
Yeah.
wisdom. And for me, again, having grown up in the church, knowing all these Bible verses, probably have read that verse a million times. While I was in a place where I felt so unwise, like I didn't know what
Yeah.
to do, learning that God actually says, ask me for wisdom and I'll give it to you generously. I was like, man, I wish I had asked. I wish I knew
Right.
this before, like really
Yeah.
knew. And because now every day before I get
Yeah.
on the meeting, before anything, I'm like, God, give me your wisdom
Yeah.
in this. And so those are a couple things. I don't know if that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah. No, I think that's important for anybody starting out doing anything big. I hate it when people say, God will never give you more than you can handle. I'm like, that's a lie. He will definitely give you more than you can handle because he wants you to rely on him.
Uh,
And he wants you to not be able to do it on your own.
mhm.
So I hate it when people say that.
I know they
Not
almost think
true.
it's like a Bible verse, like, oh, the
Yeah.
Bible says. It's like,
No,
no,
it
have you read
doesn't.
the Bible? He gave everybody more than they could handle.
Yes. Yes. But he is so faithful, and it is so encouraging to look back, and see the things that he's done. So I love that. I love that you do that. Are there any campaigns over the years or stories that really have touched your heart? I'm sure there probably are.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
There are times I remember when there's a few presidential elections ago, and you turn on the news, you look at social media, and it's all this just like one
Right.
side hates the other side. And I was just
Yep.
like, I was feeling so much unrest even in myself. Like, ugh, I hate this. And I
Yeah.
remember going on GiveSendGo during that time and scrolling through just the campaigns that are on there and going, God like redirecting the thought process that yes, we're hearing all this stuff from the media and on social and all of that. But look at all these people that are doing my work in their communities, the ones
Right.
reaching out to the single mom whose car broke down, the ones coming around the family that lost their house in a fire, the churches that are building on so that they can have more people, the people going on missions trips, the people adopting, the people even taking
Right.
care of their pets. There are people like all around the world that aren't being put on the news and being talked about because that are actually doing what God has for them to do. And I was like, this is really a cool thing, even in the midst of some of
Yeah.
these tragedies, to be able to say, look at people are coming around and
Right.
providing hope for people. Now, there is a cool story. We have something that also, and it ties into you asked what sets us apart. So I told you we share the hope of Jesus, but
Right.
that's not just something we say. We actually go, well, how can we share the hope of Jesus? And so one of the ways we do that is we actually have a team called the Hope Team that we hire. It's a group of people, and their job is to call every campaign and pray with them.
Oh, wow. I
So
love
they
that.
so they see a campaign, they just call through, right? So they get their
Right.
list in the morning and there's lots of campaigns and they're always just trying to keep up with the newest ones and not get too far behind. So they'll be like a week or two behind in when a campaign was created and they'll call someone and say, hey, I just read your campaign that you had a house fire and I just wanted to pray with you. And people are
Wow.
blown away. Even people with no faith background go, I can't believe someone cares enough about what I'm
Yeah.
going through that you would call and pray. I don't even believe there's a God, but it really means something that
That's
a big
awesome.
tech platform calls. Well, one night, our prayer team, this was really early on, and it solidified that this was a God thing, is that
Yeah.
um, we had one of our prayer team members read this campaign, and it was just heartbreaking. A lot of them are. This woman had started a campaign because her daughter had committed suicide, postpartum
Mhm.
depression, left behind a baby,
Oh,
just heartbreaking. And
God.
so our prayer team reads the campaign, and then they have to go and call and, hi, I'm from GiveSendGo. I just read your campaign. I am so sorry about your loss. Um, I want to pray with you right now. Is there anything specific going on right now, or I can just pray for your campaign? And the lady just starts bawling, and she said,
Oh,
"You don't even understand. I was
yeah.
just sitting here and I pulled up my gun and I was going to end
Oh,
my life tonight because I felt so alone."
oh my
And
gosh.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is God
Right.
showing us what we do is more than just let people raise money in the hard situations. We actually get to share hope with people that are feeling really sometimes at their lowest point in life. They've
Yeah.
had a car accident, they've gotten that diagnosis, and we get to reach in and say, listen, you're not alone here." And so those are the stories that I love, the stories
Yeah.
of people going, I am raising money. Those are great stories too. I'm raising
Right.
money and I was able to do
Right.
this. But when they write back and say, but that prayer call, that Hope
Yeah.
Team call, I was sitting in the waiting room while my daughter was undergoing her surgery and it came at the right
Wow.
moment. Those are the calls that say, okay, this is why we do what we do.
Yes. To me, that's more powerful than the money.
And to most people, it is.
It is. I mean, money's important. We have to have it to live. But to me, that's so powerful. I love that. I love that. What would you say to somebody who wants to start something like maybe not what you're doing, but
Yeah.
something
Be
that
our
they want,
competitor.
right? No, 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 no.
I just
Somebody
kidding.
that has a heart to do something for others in the community or however, what is some advice you could give them from the very beginning? Maybe something you looked back and thought, I wish we would have done this, or,
I think that there's a lot of advice. Some of it is just start taking steps. I think a lot of times, especially if you're a faith person, that you can be
Mhm.
like, I am going to just sit here and pray and hope that one day this will all come to fruition. And that's not how this works.
Right.
But there are people that go, well, I just haven't, I'm just still praying. Now, and we spent a lot of time in prayer as we launched
Sure.
Gifts and Go. It wasn't that we don't believe prayer is very, very important, but
Yeah.
there has to be steps being taken. And if you feel like there is something that God is like, hey, I want you to start this in your community or do this, just go and start.
Yeah.
Just go and start. You'll learn the things. You will fail. I listen to Dave Ramsey sometimes, and he said, Dave Ramsey Solutions is built on a mountain of failures,
Right. That's
and
how you
Give, Send,
learn.
Go is
Yeah.
built on a mountain of failures, and so you
Sure.
cannot be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
You just need to start taking those steps. I think that's one of the most important things, and I think a lot of people, they have the idea and they wait, and they don't have all the pieces exactly together. They don't
Yeah.
have all the charted out to tell them what the plan is, and so they don't do anything. And then you have the person who has 30 ideas and tries to do all of them and nothing
Right.
well. So you
Right.
have the two, and there's a middle ground here
Yeah.
of saying, ask the Lord what he wants you to
Yeah.
do. Start taking steps and then be aware of the open and closed doors as you walk
Right.
along the way. Get people around you that you can
Yes.
trust, because there were days my brother and I would be like, do we want to do this anymore? Like,
Right.
we're not making enough money. Like, this isn't working, and it was great having people around us that we could go and talk to and that would encourage us and
Yeah.
speak truth to us. Like, if we were missing something, they would tell us we were missing
Right.
something. It is
Right.
really important to have people around you in any journey that you do,
Yeah.
that encourage you and that can speak truth, that you allow to speak truth. Now that's a earned position. I wouldn't let everybody
Right.
tell you everything at all times, because that's
Yeah.
not helpful, but have a couple people that you give
Yeah.
permission to correct and to speak truth in your life. So those are a couple of the things that I would say if
That's
you're starting
great.
a journey.
So prayer is such a big part of, and I know that y'all deal with a lot of emotional issues because, some of these that people that are raising money have very, like you said, very serious things going on. And how do you, as your team, how do y'all stay grounded in not getting too emotionally attached or too down with, a lot of the situations that you're seeing.
I think it comes back to our mission, which is to share hope. And so
Yeah.
we know the Bible says, like, in this world, you will have trouble. We can't take away the trouble. Now,
Right.
do we wish we could? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we can't. We can't take away our own troubles that we're going to go through. We can't take away the troubles of our neighbors. We can't take away the car accident that devastates
Yeah.
the family. And so it's coming back, continuing to come back to the reminder is, what do we have to offer? And it's that, silver and gold I don't have, but what I have give to you in the
Right.
name of Jesus, like, stand up and walk. And it's that, like, we get a unique position in the marketplace to actually speak while people are raising money, but actually go
Right.
beyond the financial and say, we're going to share hope, which will outlast any money that you earn here. And so now our hope team, we don't let them have full-time jobs calling people to pray, because it's a heavy,
Yes,
these are
I'm sure.
part-time these are part-time employees that get,
Yeah.
20 hours a week, because you need a break when you're
Yes.
reading these hard campaigns. So we do have things in place, and we just keep pointing back to, wow, that is a hard situation. Let's pray about that.
Yeah.
And how can we share hope? Let's
I
turn it
love
to the
that.
positive, right?
Yeah.
Let's move it to the positive. So
Yeah. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you want to tell me about?
I
Share.
think
Oh,
one of the things, just again, another thing that sets us apart that people might be listening might not know about, even if they've heard of GiveSendGo before, is that we have something we call the Giver Army.
mm,
And the Giver Army came about a few years ago. You have people come on the site, they'll make a campaign. I can't pay my electric bill this month. And
right.
then they never share their campaign. And then they say, this doesn't work
Right.
because no one's seen it. And they were hoping that there was just this crowd of people that was going to miraculously come and give to
Yeah.
their campaign. And it's like, that's not how the world works. I don't know
Right.
what world you live in, but that'd be great if there was just a crowd of people that said, I want to give money. And then we
Yeah.
thought, whoa, what if we actually made a crowd of people? Let's call it the Giver
Yeah.
Army. And so we invite people to join our Giver Army, and you can go to giverarmy.com, or you can
Okay.
just find it under the Discover tab on GiveSendGo.
Okay.
Um, and what the Giver Army does is that you sign up and say, I want to be part of this army of people, thousands strong, and hopefully one day millions strong, right?
Right.
Where you can give the minimum of $5 a month. It's a recurring donation up to whatever you feel comfortable, maybe
Yeah.
20, whatever, but it starts at 5. And you say, I want to give it to this category. Maybe it's for tragedies, or maybe it's for pets, or maybe it's for adoption, or
Yeah.
all different. There's 12 different categories you can choose to give to. And every month, it's a recurring donation. That $5 comes out of your account. And what it does, it gets pooled. It goes to our charity, our nonprofit, Give Send Go charity. So it's a tax deductible gift for you.
Yeah.
And it gets pooled. Let's say you picked adoption. You love adoption, right? And so your $5 goes with all the other people who picked adoption. And then our charity has some scouts that go to Give, Send, Go and find campaigns on adoption, and takes all that money that was raised by our Giver Army and gives to those campaigns on Give,
Oh,
Send,
that's
Go.
awesome.
And so there are people getting money from our Giver Army, well, every month.
Wow.
Because there are people saying, no, I'm willing to be part of something bigger than myself. I might
Yeah.
never know the impact my dollars had, but I want to step out. And $5, I can do that. $10, I
Yeah.
can do that. And you think you get 100,000 people giving $5 a
Sure.
month? That's $500,000. And that's barely
Absolutely.
scratching the surface of campaigns we can then go in and say,
Right.
we're going to help you replace your roof. And we're going to help
Yeah.
your all whatever the situation is. And so the Give Army is really a cool part of what we do at Give Send Go. And then as a thank you, in the fall, we have what we call our Giver Gala. Now people
Oh,
hear
wow.
gala and they think, oh, it's a fundraiser. It is not a fundraiser. It is a party that we throw for our Giver Army. It's a free party. They
Wow.
get to invite a guest, and they come out to Boston. This year it's going to be on a cruise ship, a Boston
Oh,
cruise, our harbor
wow.
cruise. And we're going to we share all the stories of where their money went and who was impacted. And we have videos and
That's awesome.
testimonials, and they get to come and they have a great food and drink and dancing. And we've had comedians and magicians, like just fun
Yeah,
entertainment. And they get to come and we celebrate our giver army for being a part of this. So it's our thank you for people
that is
giving.
amazing.
So.
That is amazing. One thing I did not ask, is there certain things that you cannot start a campaign for?
Yes, so that is a touchy question in today's
Yes.
world. There actually are. So we allow a lot of campaigns, and we actually say we allow campaigns that we disagree with. And
Right,
if you look us up, you will see there are some controversial things that
right.
we've allowed campaigns. I'm sure you've done some homework.
Yes.
So, uh, a couple of things we do not allow on Give Send Go are we just say we're going to protect our children. So that
Right.
is our blanket statement at Give Send Go. They
Yeah.
are the innocent among us, right? Like the ones that
Yeah.
need protection. And so we say we're not going to allow abortion because we're not going to kill
Right.
babies. We just not we don't allow
Yeah.
murder. And I know not everybody agrees with that, but go to the other sites. They celebrate it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then the other thing that we don't allow is transgendering your child. Because
Yeah.
again, we think that's child abuse.
Right.
And so go to the other sites, they celebrate it.
Yeah.
Because we're going to just protect children. Now, if you are
Right.
legal age and you want to become the opposite sex and you want to use Give Send Go for your gender surgery, we're going to allow you to, even though I believe that that's not what
Right.
God has for people. But we get put in this unique position
Yeah.
where we now get to share hope with someone who's obviously going through a really hard time in their life. And so
Right.
they will get a phone call from
Yeah.
our hope team, and our hope team won't go, "Hey, we're going to pray that this surgery goes well." We're going to
Right.
pray that they find their identity in the Lord and that
Yes.
they realize that they're not defined by some feelings and something going on in their brain, that God loved and created them just the way they are. And so it gives us a
Yeah.
unique opportunity, even in situations that we might go, not what I would choose for myself, but we're
Right.
going to allow. We also allow, so those are the couple things we don't allow. Some
Right.
of the things on the controversial side that we do allow are legal defense funds.
Right.
Can be hard because when someone's done something bad,
Right.
people don't, especially if you know they did something bad or you really think they did something bad, or the
Right.
social media tells you they did something bad, or
Right.
you saw a 3-second clip that you think proves they did something bad. We've
Right.
gotten into this like mob mentality where in the United States, what something that makes us better than most countries is our justice system, that
Yeah.
you get the presumption of innocence until you go to trial.
Right.
You get to either get a public defender, but if you have money, you can get a private defender.
Yeah.
And we all know that you'd rather have a private defender, right? And so we
Yeah.
level the playing field between the wealthy and the unwealthy in the public private defender field, because people
Yeah.
can come on even if they're being charged with something bad, and they can raise money for their legal defense.
Right.
And we've seen it over and over again. That's one of the first things that made us explode. There was a guy named Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know if that name sounds
Yeah.
familiar to you. He found himself in a bad situation,
Yeah.
and I wasn't there. If he was my son, I would not have been happy with him. But he found himself in a bad situation. The whole world went crazy, thinking they knew all the details, even though
Right.
lots of misinformation and fake facts were coming out, right? Like
Sure.
that nobody really could know what happened. And so he came, after being shut down everywhere, he came to Give Send Go and started a
Oh,
legal
wow.
defense fund. Actually, somebody made it for him,
Yeah.
um, because they're like, I think this platform might stand for the freedom for this kid.
Right.
So we allowed him to, despite thousands of hate mail and death
Yeah.
threats. And here we are, this Christian hope bringing platform, right? That's
Yeah.
our mission.
Yeah.
And now we're being told we're dragging God's name through the mud. And how dare we allow this? And we're going,
Mm.
this is a hard wrestle. This
Yeah.
isn't where I thought we would be 5 years ago when we
Sure.
started Give Send Go. I thought we were going to be puppies and rainbows. Like everybody's just
Yeah.
happy and raising funds and we're sharing hope. And now we're being dragged through this political mud. And God really spoke to my brother and I during this time saying, no, I want you to stand for freedom for people. And
Yeah.
so we decided we were going to allow his campaign. He raised over $600,000 and he went to trial, which
Yeah.
is what everybody should be afforded. And
Right.
then all the facts came out and he got found not guilty
Yeah.
and so and there were people who said, "We're so glad you stood behind Kyle." And we said, "We didn't stand behind Kyle." Because even if he got found guilty, like let's say there were facts that came out, we were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we still believe he should have been able to raise money for legal defense." So this
Right.
goes, the whole first half of our conversation is us talking about the hope and
Right.
and but this is really who we are.
Right.
And, and even in these hard situations where culture it can be emotional and people want
Yeah.
justice on both sides. And if we're trying to remain principled in it all and say, nope, we're going to afford this to everybody.
Yeah.
And we're going to, again, go back to our mission statement in it, share hope with people while they're
Yeah.
going through some of the hardest things of their lives. And they might
Yeah.
even be a bad guy, but guess what? Jesus died for the bad guys,
Right. Right.
like it or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love all of that. I'm just so impressed with this company. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. I have loved talking to you and learning more about this. I will anytime I hear somebody wanting to raise money for something, I'm going to point them to GiveSendGo. Well, I appreciate you talking to me today.
No, thank you. It's been
Thank
great
you.
meeting you.
You too. Well,
Keep
you
in
have a
touch.
great
All
day.
right. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.